Yo, what's up, guys? Felix from John Lifestyle. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm sitting down with my buddy John from The Simplest Biz. In this video, we're going to be talking about why some people make up to $1,000 per day with this business and why some people don't. So if you don't know John, he's the creator of The Simplest Biz, the guy that's been doing the pallet business for the past 2 decades. Welcome back to the channel, John. Welcome to have you.
Hey, glad to be here, Felix. I think we've got a couple topics we're going to cover today that will be pretty informative for people looking into this. So I'm ready to get to it. Appreciate being here.
Cool. So for anybody that doesn't know who you are, maybe have never seen a video that you and I have done together, quickly explain like who you are, where you're from, and then, what is the pallet business? What is The Simplest Biz? And how are people making, up to, $500 or $1,000 per day doing this business?
Well, the pallet business, it's a recycling of pallets. So wooden pallet stuff that moves everything on the planet. So it's an item that would outpace the iPhone by a factor of 20 as far as need. Okay. So we're dealing with something that is required on this planet to move everything else. So that's number one. Number two, I've done this for 24 years. I've done it really streamlined as well, where I don't need a brick and mortar or employees or warehouse. I'm basically, the best way to describe it is that I'm an Uber driver for pallets, meaning instead of one passenger in my back seat, I have 150 passengers, which are pallets on my little flatbed truck, no CDL required. So they're being loaded onto my truck and I'm driving those passengers, quote unquote, pallets 3 blocks down the road to their destination. Forklifts are coming out, unloading those pallets and dropping them off. And each of those passengers are paying me $8, $10, $12 a piece on average. So it's minimal time, and I'm not trading my time for money. I'm trading units for money. So, the things you have to know is how to set this whole process up. And that process I just described is repeatable over and over again to those same businesses. So I think that's an easy way for people to kind of grasp what's going on here. And if you do the math, 150 times 10, that's $1,500. And if you get efficient at it and have your places in close proximity, that's 35, 45, 50 minutes of work. So there you go. And rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
The one thing I will say about the pallets that I think is really cool is just the massive scale about it. Me and you kind of have similar situations because I do a business as well, as far as, buying and reselling diabetic testing supplies.
Huge.
I'm actually in Colombia and I don't see no test strips or diabetic testing supplies yet. I was just in basically the country of Colombia at like a party. And I see a bunch of pallets, and it's crazy how big this is. But the one thing that I really wanted to talk about on this channel, on this video, is, I have a training program where I show people how to do the business that I've been doing since 2015 and made my first 6 figures by 21. And you've been doing this business for the past 2 decades. But I kind of just wanted to talk about what you think separates the people, and I'll give you my opinion on it as well.
Sure.
But people that you've had in your training program that go on to make, whether it's a few thousand extra per month or go on to build, because I know you have some students that have gone through and make 50, 60, 100,000 per month. What separates those people? Because you always see people online that say, hey, I tried that, it doesn't work. And then you've got the same people on the other side of the spectrum who say, hey, I came across John's information or Felix's information and I made $200,000 in the first year. What do you think separates the people that go on to build successful pallet businesses to the people that just learn about it and never do anything with it?
I guess the one word it would come down to is fear. Most likely fear of change possibly is where it gets to. There's a whole subset of people that, you can give the same information to, like you say, you're getting 2 different results. And some people make excuses and it's called something else. You could call it analysis paralysis. So, I've had students go out there and go over the course over and over and over. It's the 4th time. I said, well, who have you spoken to yet? Who have you actually, how have you gotten this off the ground? They hadn't spoken to anybody yet, right? So you compare that to somebody, as this is just one example, that, spent the 4 days in the training, which is about what it takes, and realizes that, one, I got to get out there to start making this happen and get a feel for it anyway. and people learn as well. You know, I'm teaching them the methods and all, but everybody has their own twist on it. So the successful ones are getting out there and actually going through the process and gaining ground right out of the gate, compared to somebody else trying to make everything perfect, analysis paralysis, and hadn't even taken action yet because they just bounce it around their brain so much to where they haven't taken action. So that's just one item. You probably have some scenarios too you could share with what happens with your students as well.
Yeah, I think really the biggest thing, I mean, not the biggest thing, but one thing that I see is when people, they learn about it and they do it, and then it doesn't happen as fast as they want. Oh, it didn't happen in a week, or I made a few contacts for, in the training. I know because, I bought the training from you and you showed me how to do it. And I got like 2 accounts that I make some decent money with back in university, but it took me a long time. Well, I didn't really take action on it. I went through it, but didn't take action. But I think
sure, that's cool.
They'll go through the training, or they'll do it, whether it's pallets, whether it's buying diabetic test strips, whether it's a real estate course, whatever course it is, and it doesn't happen like this. And then they say, oh, it doesn't work. But if they just stick it out, and maybe it takes a week, maybe it takes 2 weeks, maybe it takes a month, maybe it takes 2 months, but it will work. Some people, strike gold faster. Some people strike slower. What do you say as far as for your course? I tell people month 1 for the diabetic test strips, they make somewhere around 50, between 750 and 1500 in profit. Somewhere in month 2, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500, and then by the end of day 90 or month 3, they should be making 2,500 or more per month. What do you tell people for the pallet business that they could expect, in month 1? Do you have any, obviously?
Well, it varies so much between one student and the next. Meaning, I've had students on their first day go out and set up a deal for 300 pallets, right? Moving from one point to point. It had a buyer and a supplier, and they busted their butts day 1 to go out and make those connections. They didn't just see 2, they saw several, went to many businesses that day 1 to make that happen. And they were pulling in, because of the pallets that size he was dealing with was $10 a piece. So it was a $3,000 get on his day out. On the other end of the spectrum, you have people that might think seeing 2 businesses in a day is hustling when it's really not, right? So those people, it may take a week for them just to get their first supplier and buyer if they're going at that pace. But, I say in business, and you're starting from scratch on anything, whether you're selling shoes or diabetic test strips, or you're at 0 starting out of the gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the knowledge now what to say and how to help these businesses the right way, but you got to get out there and toot your horn. There's no reason you couldn't see 30, 40 businesses in one day and have a ton of different options at your quiver, because you went out there and did the hustle right out of the gate. And think about it in this terms as well. I always think about people going out on their first day. This is something new. You got to get out there and kind of feel your way through it a little bit. I teach what you need to know, but you still have to go through, as an entrepreneur, the process of making that happen, to understand the feel of the conversation and what questions and the pacing and who you got to talk to, how to get that whole process going, get over the nervousness, So some of those first 5 places you go to, you may strike out just because the guy you're talking to or the business you're talking to sees you're nervous, but that's okay. You're going through that process. So, but some people are scared to go through that process. They're uncomfortable. They're not comfortable being uncomfortable for a second, right? Yeah. So that's one thing. And I do have something else, but I was gonna let you go on your next little scenario with what you see as well, because there's something else that I think really takes place.
Well, you got the floor. I'll jump in after you say that, what your next thing is.
I think one of the biggest things is for people who get a training course, there's people who bought my course and never opened it up, for one, but there's different levels of people out there some have been in business for themselves before and been in the trenches, and know what it means to be in business for themselves. There's some people who've never been in business for themselves, But regardless of where you fall on the spectrum, I think the most important part is if you're an entrepreneur, you have to become a student of mastering your craft, and you have to wear a lot of hats when you're an entrepreneur. So, for me personally, I knew I wasn't the greatest communicator in the world, when I talked to people way back when. So I became a student of studying people that know how to communicate well and know how to pace their questions and ask correct questions and draw information out of people. So I've become a student of trying to better myself as an entrepreneur, even outside of the pallet business, and knowing that that's what's required, or it's going to give me success faster. It's well invested time. Some people don't become a student of their craft. They can know everything about the business, but there's extraneous things around that you have to learn tools on the internet, maybe learn some marketing techniques. There's a whole gamut of stuff, and you talk about this on your channel a lot, that people have to, to get where you want to get faster.
You have to commit to
it. We got to take this seriously.
Yeah, I think I actually like that point the most. People don't take it as serious. I mean, you could do it on a side hustle level and make a few thousand,
sure,
or you can make it to a full business. But no matter what level you do it on, you have to almost be. I think that Grant Cardone says, I've heard him say it, or a few other motivational speakers say it, like you have to become obsessed, because if you're not obsessed or dedicated to your craft, whatever you do, you have to do it day in and day out, whether you want a small result or a big result. So I totally agree. And I think some people, they get excited about it, they'll pull the trigger on it, they'll do it. When it doesn't happen immediately, they say it doesn't work, and then the people who stick it out, they say, where was this, hey, John, or hey, Felix, where was the information about the pallets or the information about the medical testing supplies 5-10 years ago? I wish I would have known quicker. So I definitely like that point. I don't want to make this video too long.
Sure.
What would you say to somebody like, obviously if they want more information, they could, check out your videos or check out my videos. But once they actually decide to go forward with the pallet business and see that this is a good opportunity for them and it's something that they want to do, it's hot up in here because in Colombia there's no air conditioning.
You poor thing.
Sweating. But say they get inside the training for the simplest biz and they go forward with this, how do they really maximize the training so that they can ensure success? Obviously they got to put the work in, but what could you say?
Great question. And I'll always continually have to direct my students to this. So, you have the 14 module training course, right? And it's going step by step for all the different aspects of this business model. It's a blueprint, but at the same time, there's nuances to everything. So there is of just me inside of the private Facebook group that you're put in. There's probably well over 100 live videos that I've done inside the training over the last several years that even break out that information even further. So it's all searchable as well, because we have a searching mechanism inside the thing. So I would also spend some time in there to get some of those nuances that are described in the Facebook group, in addition to the training. It not go overkill. I'm not trying to get you to analysis paralysis, but I'm absolutely wanting you to see what other students are putting out there. Spend a morning and go through what other students are doing, because they're giving great advice, and go over some of the stuff in the featured section to give you even a little bit more preparation before you go out there, and then get your feet wet, and then revisit. If you have questions, you got a Facebook group, ask a question in there or do a search in there for information, and just build upon itself as scenarios present themselves. So, and I go over tons of scenarios in the trainings for you to be able to be prepared for it. But sometimes there's a twist, and you need to be participating inside that Facebook group and be part of that community, so you don't feel like you're on an island all by yourself doing this. Very important.
Perfect. I think the Facebook group of any course that I've ever been in is, especially when there's, other people really doing it, can be really beneficial. Can you tell everybody where they could find you if they want more information and how they can get connected with you?
You can go to thepalletcourse.com, which is easy to remember, or thesimplestbiz.com. It's a page. It'll have a opt-in form for you to opt in for additional information. You're going to get some emails I have biz in my name, so it may go to your promotions tab if you're in Gmail or spam. So check there. But then, you know, if you start doing some research, I'm going to give you a lot of information. You have the option of either purchasing the course outright or booking an appointment and talking with us to see if we get your questions answered so you have a full understanding. Because I think the more you look into this, especially that's what happened to me, the more you look into this, the more exciting it gets. And I know it's pallets, but it is exciting because of the type of businesses it is when we don't have the overhead and the free pallets and how big it is and all that. So that would be my suggestion, the simplestbiz.com or the palletcourse.com. Go to either one of those links.
Perfect. Well, there you guys have it. If you guys want more access to John, what he does, the Simplest Biz and the Pallet course or the Pallet business itself, check the links down in the description. I'll link his channel and I'll also link where you could book a call with him. Be sure to follow through whatever you do, whether it's the pallet business, the test strip business, or any other business you do. Be sure to follow through so you can get access to what everybody else is getting access to. Again, thank you, John, for joining me on this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Thanks, Felix.